Hi everybody, I hope you're excited to get your Highland Cow Santa kit. I'm up at my mom's in Gerber, so I don't have everything with me right now. So I did my best to improvise, but this way you get a video. So all your pieces are blank. We use a couple different ways of painting. I'm gonna show you how to do each of those, but then basically you're gonna paint it yourself. Everything I have is pre-painted and I'll show you how to put it together. It's not gonna be one of my normal long YouTube videos with a lot of detail and stuff like that on technique. So first of all, you're gonna start with your base pieces, your cow, your face. This has macrame on it, but it'll look like this. And your horns. You are going to put a little bit of the light brown paint on your tray. In fact, hold on, let me grab some of the brown paint so I can show you. I was thinking I had everything painted. I didn't need to grab any paint. And scissors. Sorry, I told you I didn't have everything I needed. So, okay. So I take a paper plate, or I use these little styrofoam trays I get at the Dollar Tree. Anything works, a paint palette, but just get a little bit of paint out. It doesn't take much at all for the baby wiping. So you're gonna take a baby wipe and you're gonna dip it in your brown paint. You're gonna brush some of it off. And I'm gonna show you on the back here. You're just gonna rub it on. You're gonna paint the back and the front like this. Your cow isn't gonna end up brown, but when you sand it to distress it, you want it to be brown underneath. So you're gonna paint the front and the back. That way when you see your back, it looks finished, okay? So you're gonna paint the front and the back. In fact, I already painted the back of these. So the front and the back of the body and the front and the back of the horns with the light brown. On the face, you don't need to worry about the back because it's gonna glue on, but you wanna paint the front with the light brown too. Or also, sorry. And I did all of that with a baby wipe method. You also have 2 foam brushes in your kit. You can use to do the brown with the foam brush, but you don't need to. The baby wipe method will work just fine, and you can't see very much of the brown anyways, but that's up to you. If you don't like the baby wipe method, you can absolutely do that. You should have baby wipes in a baggie in your box. And then you're gonna take your foam brush and you're gonna paint over everything. I didn't paint the areas that won't be seen, but you're gonna paint over everything with the off-white or cream color you have in there. And that you're gonna paint solid. So you're just gonna paint, and what you're gonna paint with the cream is the body and the face, okay? Then I did some sanding with the sandpaper in there. I've already detailed everything. So like front and back like this, just to give it some character. I don't like really finished things. I like it to look a little antiqued or aged. So you can absolutely skip this part if you don't like it. But if you like the cow in the picture, that's how I got it. Then I took a brush and I just swept across with the dry brush or a chip brush, which I believe I included in your kit. If not, you can also use the baby wipe for this, so I'll show you 2 ways. Your chip brush is gonna be bigger than mine. It should be a flat, it looks like a normal paintbrush that you would paint with. And what you would do is you would just get a little bit of paint on your brush, pounce it off, and you would kind of light strokes back and forth. You should have 2 colors of brown in there. I believe that's what I put in there when I did the kit. I only used one on my first cow. On the second cow, I just used 2 different colors of brown, doing that sweeping motion. You wanna hit on the edges so it grabs the paint there, but you wanna lightly stroke across. You can always add more, you can't take away. So you're gonna do that on here, and you're gonna do that on the face. Then you can sand this stuff again. And when you sand it, you're going to expose some of what's underneath, which is why we painted the brown underneath. so that what you expose doesn't look like wood, it looks like a dark paint. So that way when you sand it, that's why you can do it without doing the brushing. Just the sanding alone would be enough. It would expose the brown paint underneath. Okay, so those two pieces you now have done, you're gonna set those aside. I accidentally glued this together before we went on. So this is two separate pieces. One's long like that, and one's short, but it has score lines on there, so it tells you exactly where to glue it. So you're gonna paint both of those white. And the way I painted these is with how I paint most of my products, a makeup sponge, which included in your kit. You're gonna dip it in a little bit of paint. Get that paint going here. The fan going. So you're gonna dip in a little bit of paint, pounce off the extra, and then come right into your project. Sorry, this table's wider than mine at home. And you're just gonna, you would just pounce the paint on like this. That helps you keep from going over the edges. A couple light coats, you'll have them both covered. Also, to paint white, you'll take the little eye centers out and paint this part of the eye white. You'll paint your little pom-pom for your hat white. And you'll paint your hat brim white. And I also sanded all this stuff as well. I didn't sand the eyes. You can't see the eyes unless you move the hair away, but they're there kind of just because. So those are all gonna get white. You can sand what you would like. Next, I painted the hat. This hat, for instance, I painted a layer of brown underneath also to kind of give a deeper red, but that's completely up to you. As you can see, they're both a little bit different. And that's the difference. I painted a coat of brown under this. I did not under this. Okay, that's just the straight red. And red usually takes more than one coat to cover. And you're gonna wanna paint this also with your makeup sponge, doing the pouncing. After it was painted, I took my small brush that's in your kit and after it was painted and I sanded it, I took some of the same color paint and I just went along and kind of put a detail line. So it's barely seen, but if you really look close, you can see it a little bit better on this picture. By putting the brown in there, I didn't get quite as much of a contrast. So you can see kind of where I just put a little bit of outline on the hat. I set that aside. Next, we're gonna paint with black. You're gonna paint the inside of your nose pieces and the inside of your eyes black with the same makeup sponge method. You're gonna paint your feet with that makeup sponge method. Both feet are the same, so it doesn't matter, you won't get them mixed up. And then I also sanded these quite a bit. When I sanded most of my stuff, I used a method of sanding heavily one direction and then turning and sanding heavily exactly opposite direction. That creates this kind of hatching, like a denim type pattern on the hoofs. You don't need to paint the backs, they won't be seen. Last, you're gonna paint your nose, and there's a light pink in there for you. I added a little bit of white to mine. You can do the same. It's kind of what shade of pink, or you can add a little bit of brown to it, kind of what shade of pink you want for your cow. All right, you now have everything painted. You also have these two pieces. These are spacers. They don't need to be painted. They're gonna go between the head and the body. It allows for the macrame to glue on and still be even. Let me grab a drink. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of talking this week. Okay. Now we're gonna glue everything together except for the head, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the macrame. I do that because I try to keep the macrame out of the way until all the paint's put away. It's easy to get paint on it, believe me, it's happened to me before. And since it's white, it's hard to get out, or it's an off-white. Okay. I'm gonna try to stretch across here so my mom can see you, because I, of course, don't have my stand up here with me. I thought I brought everything, you know, but I didn't. So you guys will have a small thing of super glue in your kit. Remember, it dries quick and fast. I'm sorry, I didn't think to tell you guys. These are scored for you. So you know right where to put your spacers, okay? You see that little bit of a line you can see? Same with this one. Okay. All right. Now you're going to glue your hoofs on. Something really important to think about is do not go below this bottom line of the hoof because it will not fit in your base, okay? It won't fit in your base. That's what I forgot to tell you about. So I didn't bring an extra base up here with me, but you're gonna have a piece that looks like this and then a solid piece that's the same size. The solid piece is the bottom, so you don't need to paint it. I painted this with the baby wipe. So when I was doing everything else brown, I did this as well, okay? All right. Move a little bit. I have wood glue with me, so. All right, and then next I'm gonna glue the horns on. So the horns also have a little bit of scoring, if you can see right there, that's used to tell you where to place the ears, okay? And I did the same thing on this with the small brush. I went around the edges of it and kind of outlined the horns. Okay, so what I do is I turn it to face me and I just go ahead and put glue on the horns themselves. It doesn't take a lot. And then I line it up. Real quick to make sure I have it lined up before it dries. Okay, just hold it for a minute. Okay. I'm gonna set this on here and kind of try to balance out my horns here. That's where I don't want it to keep tipping up until they're like done drying. Oh well. If they don't glue good, we'll go back and glue them. So, next you're gonna move on to your head. So it also has score marks. It has score marks for the nose and it has score marks for the eyes. Okay? So, start with our nose, put a little bit of glue. You don't want to get a lot close to the edges because it'll ooze out and then you'll have a shininess on your project. And it should cover the lines. The lines are a little bit smaller to make sure that when you put everything together, it's covering it so that they're not exposed. And then we're gonna glue the eyes too. The eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and put the glue on here so that I don't have to worry about trying to glue in the little dot in the middle. I can just place them down one at a time. Where did I put that? Sorry, I wanna do it the same, okay. That's the bad part when you just kind of create something as on the go and then you recreate it as a kit. You have to try to make sure everything's the same. All right, and then we're just gonna take the little black pieces off and drop them right down into there. You see how I left the black pieces on this piece of tape? I did that for one really big reason. When I'm painting, instead of trying to hold on to this little tiny piece, I can hold on to the piece of tape and paint without having my fingers be all black. There's still glue in there. Make sure I have everything straight. It's hard to look over the table. Now we'll stick the nose down in there. This is a new glue I started using that some of my club members have gotten. It's called the Tight Bond Quick and Thick. I used to only use the Stick Fast Super Glue, but it's been really hard to find lately in big containers. So at home, I've been, on my own projects, I've been using that, and then I just use the Stick Fast on the stuff that I sell. Okay, so just pop right down in there. Sorry, it looked odd upside down. Okay. Now for the hoofs, we're gonna glue the hoofs on. Now, so what I found doing the hoofs, so if you back your bottoms up just to right on the line, you will still be able to put your base in. If you're concerned, you can put it in your base before you glue it. The only problem is that if you get glue drip down in there, it will, it could glue your base on. And I do not glue my bases on for the reason that when I store it away, I like to be able to lay it flat. So we're gonna, can you, I don't know how far I can reach. So I'm gonna go right down to the bottom there. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Okay, let me look this direction to make sure I have them right before they dry. Okay. So see how that leaves your space? I just lined them up on the bottom. Okay. Now, we're gonna glue the hat together. Let's finish the hat, okay? So let's set him aside. So you have your red hat. If you'll notice this on the scoring, this white piece is bigger than the scoring. So same thing. You're gonna butt this up against the bottom, not up against the scoring, up against the bottom of your Santa hat, okay? You have baby wipes included in your kit. If you get paint over the edge, I don't like to paint the edges because I like that dark lasered line. It really gives it some definition. But if you get paint over the edge when you're painting that you want to clean up, you can use your baby wipe. It will come right off. Okay. Now we're gonna paint the little poof. I'm gonna put paint on here so I don't, even though I got way too much. I don't want glue all over the place. Okay. Now, we are not gonna glue the hat on yet. We're gonna wait until we glue the face on first, okay? So for right now, I'm just gonna set it there and set this aside, and I'm gonna show you how to do the macrame for the head. So I've done a bunch of the pieces just to kind of get you started. You will have a baggie full of pieces. I think there's 18 in there. You can barely fit all 18 on, but I wanted to make sure you had more than enough because I've been sliding them together as I'm going. So you're going to take your piece of string and make it even, or just about even. You're gonna cut some off, so don't worry if you're a little off. So you're gonna make your piece about even. You're gonna hold it like this. You're gonna push it from the back. And then you're just gonna grab through with your fingers. I think this is called a lark's head knot. And put it down just like that. I didn't really do it for the macrame piece. I don't know, I only know a couple knots, just more or less because I wanted it to have hair. So, same thing. We're gonna stick this through. I saved a couple to do with you so you guys could see it more than once. And then you're just gonna tighten it. Now, be careful not to over tighten it. You don't wanna break this piece. I mean, it's 1/4 inch plywood, but it can break. So you don't wanna pull too tight. And if something gets adjusted wrong, you can always take it back out if you have to and like readjust it. Sorry about that. Okay, last one. Pull through. Okay, and then you can arrange them how you want them. Get all your little knots lined up. It's hard to get them lined up when you have this many on there, so it takes a minute. You can always take some off, but I liked it really full like that. And then how I undid it was you can use a couple things. You can use just any comb you have around the house. You can use like a Scotch comb that you would use like for sheep or dogs, like grooming. This one I used a comb on and it's really full. It's really undone and full. What I was kind of doing on this was just taking the piece and untwisting it the opposite direction. Until you end up with 4 little pieces and just unwinding them. So what I recommend is you do that. So you can have it like that. I recommend it's easier if you unwind the pieces first and then brush them with the comb. See, I'm just unwinding them. I debated. I had it all, the other one all unwinded, and then I started with the comb. Once you start with the comb, you kind of have to finish because then that part's kind of frizzy. So you could leave it just as simple as how that hangs. That's how these are all done. None of these I use the comb on. They're just hanging like the, but then if you wanted to, you can take and kind of comb it out and it starts to separate even more and it'll start to get a little bit frizzy. Okay, so I'm not gonna do this whole part with you. This is what it will look like in your end. When you're done, you're gonna have some uneven pieces because of the way the fabric twists. So you wanna take a pair of scissors and just cut it off, kind of lay it down. What I did at home was I laid it all down, got it all going the direction I wanted it to be, and I took a piece of painter's tape and I laid across the hair and I cut it on that. It kind of helped everything together, to hold everything together. But you can do that however you want. So let's glue your head on your other guy. Okay, I'll come back and take care of the rest of him later. Okay, so the head is gonna line up with the bottom kind of, you'll see your score line come down, so you're gonna line it up with that, okay? You only need to put glue on your 2 spacers because that's the only place it's gonna touch. Sorry. And you wanna make sure you're lined up on your sides too, because basically you shouldn't be able to see past the head. You shouldn't be able to see your design past the head, so I wanna line it up too. It actually comes down a little bit farther than that score line does. So see how I got him? It's hard to do like that. Okay. Is it lined up still? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. It's hard for me to see and show you at the same time. Okay. So the face is all lined up. But you want to make sure your score line on the bottom is not showing. Okay, mine was a little bit. So you want to make sure your score line on the bottom is not showing. See how you can't see it through there? That's important. Okay, now let's get the macrame on that side. I'll finish macrameing him later. Now, you've got your hat glued together. You are going to put glue on the back of your hat. Actually, no, I would advise putting the glue on here. So just up here on the top, so you don't worry about getting it in your macrame. You still want to be able to arrange that. This should fit along with the back, but you're gonna slide it right down on there and just line it up with the back piece. Okay? So then turn it to me. Make sure I can't see anything sticking out. Okay? There you go, there you have your cow. Now, the way this piece works is you are going to take now your solid back and glue it on here. You only want to put glue over here where there's no space, and you want to let this completely dry before you put your little guy in there, because you don't want to accidentally glue him in there unless you want him glued in. The bigger slit goes in the front, and that's where your snow is going to go. The smaller piece is the bottom, and it's the back. There you have it. You have your little Highland cow. I hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you do and you're not already a regular member of our subscription book group, we do a DIY subscription every month. I provide you just like this with everything you need to complete the kit. And I do a very explanatory video every month as well. It's usually 45 minutes to an hour long that I'll send you the link to every month as well. All right, thank you very much. Have a good Christmas.